Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be taking a first look at S Class Jacki, who is a new promo character coming into the game. As a character, I've not heard of her before. I think she might be an RTS exclusive character. Visually she looks very intimidating. These sort of look like shock batons which she has in her hands, but she looks very much like geared like an assassin. I'm not sure if that like some sort of like katana over her back. I'm seeing like the hilt of a sword and I'm intimidated. I'm going to be honest, I'm intimidated. Well, look at her stats: 3,915 attack, 3,988 defense, 4,398 HP. So fairly, balanced stats. She doesn't really go too much into anything. It's got a little bit more HP, but that's absolutely fine. Her trait is fast and her role is classified as a support character. And I guess it's taking it a bit more back to the old school with the balanced stats and support characters. Her adrenaline rush is called Disarming Tactics. It is a 66 AP cost rush, so pretty quick. All enemies get disarmed for 1 turn and minus 60% attack for 2 turns. All teammates recover from impair and get plus 25% bonus HP. So 4 things going on in this rush, and you can generally count the amount of things that are going on in a rush to see how powerful it is, and 4 is a lot. 4 is a lot. All enemies getting disarmed for 1 turn is okay, I guess. It's not, super amazing. The minus 60% attack for 2 turns, however, is pretty strong. It's going to massively debuff an attack team. I guess the disarm would work against certain characters like Priya, who would have double attack. And it does look like this character is pretty much being brought into the game to sort of counter the Priya power at the moment. All teammates recover from impair is just obviously a cleanse. Impair cleanse is kind of nice. Not too many resists of impair going around, so it's a nice little bonus. And get 25% bonus HP. This means they're always going to get like a buffer, a little 25% bonus HP buffer, regardless if they got full HP or not. This, however, can obviously be bypassed by things like bleed, burn, and that sort of thing. So in the rush, very much a support character. Jacki is mainly just there for support. And I think there's a little bit of a downside here in that I have talked about this in recent weeks on my live streams, on Discord. There is a character out there, which is Malcolm, who has been brought into the game. And the potential for him being a fast leader is quite nice. But an AP fast leader kind of needs other characters that are fast, that are 66 AP. And while Jacki is 66 AP, she's not really bringing anything into the game offensively. She can massively debuff a defense team in terms of their attack output, but generally speaking, most defense teams maybe only have 1 or 2 attacking characters just for a small kill potential. I don't think that Jacki's going to be working on an attack team at all. We do need more 66 AP characters to support this Malcolm release, but Jacki is going to be a character in her own right, and she does definitely seem to be more of a defensive character just based on her rush. She's not really going to be doing too much for an attack team in this case. We'll go across to her active skill. It's Recover, Confuse, and Defense Up. It has an initial cooldown of 3, cooldown of 2, and a number of uses 5. Up to 3 teammates recover from Confuse and get 50% defense for 2 turns. So pretty straightforward. She's going to cleanse some more people. This time it's going to be Confused. The people who get that Confuse cleansed will get 50% defense for 2 turns. Now the downside of this on a defense team is she will do this no matter what, even if people aren't confused. Because it's a double layered active, she will just do it for the defense buff side of things, and people won't recover from Confuse. It'd be better if they could somehow program it that it only would do this if there were people to recover Confuse for, and the bonus would be the defense buff on top of that, rather than the other way around. Like, because 95% of the time when it's going to be used, it's just going to be used because she's going to be doing a defense buff for 3 teammates. However, Confuse Recover is kind of nice. If you notice the things she is cleansing, Impair Cleanse on her rush and Confuse Cleanse on her active. And exactly like I said in the first part, the cleanses are directly countering Priya's rush, in terms of Priya's rush does Confuse and Impair, and that's what Jacki's going to be cleansing. So this is more of an anti-Priya character than anything else. Now where Jacki gets really special is her leader skill. She has all alert and fast teammates get 50% HP. All enemies get confused for 1 turn. So we're bringing back the 50% stat. Seemingly it's going to mainly be for premier characters that get 50% of anything. The all enemies get confused for 1 turn is basically very similar to Mercer's leader skill. The difference between Jacki and Mercer is that this one can really never be bypassed. This one can never really be like recovered from. You can have characters that can come into the game like Tiffany, who can be that cleanse on the first turn. She's got a first turn stun cleanse. She's sort of anti-Mercer in that sense. But there's nothing you can really ever do for Confuse for one turn. The only way, other than resisting it just with mods, to get rid of this would be to bring in a character that would be doing focus for one turn at the beginning of a wave, you know, focus weapons or something like that. And it's very much a hard CC because the second the character's confused, they are doing their turn confused. They don't wait. They don't wait to the end of your turn and then do a confused attack. They do it straight away. So what will happen potentially is you could attack a Jacki leader, your entire team could be confused except one character, and that character, let's say they just had a first turn active that cleansed 4 people with confused, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If they had a first turn active that gave everyone focus on one turn, it doesn't matter because everyone would just already do their attack. They'd all confuse attack and then that active would be useless. Now that active doesn't exist, but even if it did, it would do nothing. Now again, this does seem like it's going to be trying to counter the Priya teams basically. If you have a massively buffed up Priya and there are people who just proper wailed out, got their Priya as heavy as possible with the adjacent buffs where Priya can have up to 20,000 attack stat pretty easily. If that Priya gets confused and attacks her own team, she will demolish it, because the difference between a defense team and an attack team, while a defense team still takes huge amounts of damage, attack teams take much more damage because they've got barely any defensive stat. So they're paper thin, they'll just get wrecked, especially from a double attack rampage basic attack from a Priya. Priya could potentially be taking herself down. I'm pretty sure that's how it could work, where she could attack one of her teammates and rampage herself. That would be interesting to see, to say the least. So it does look like you're going to have multiple attack teams now. Obviously, Priya's very, very powerful, Rampage very, very overpowered. Jacki's coming in to sort of like calm that down a little bit, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. And it does seem like Jacki is just hard-lined position to do that. She'll be frustrating to come up against, but if you go up against her with a very low damage dealing team that's more like bleed over time, you'll be fine. You know, that first turn, even if you confuse attack each other, it doesn't really matter too much unless you've got third slot specials which can control your own teammates, and that's where it's going to become frustrating. Now the downside of Confuse is that players will still gain AP, so everyone's still going to gain AP when they're confused, whereas if you compare it to a Mercer lead, that was the big bonus there, is that the defense suddenly had the upper hand in the AP game. And that's why you could have certain defense teams trying to be ultra fast behind a Mercer to just rush turn 1 or turn 2, take down people as quickly as possible. Jacki teams aren't really going to be able to do that as easily. You could use 8% weapons with Jacki. She is going to need, like I've already said with Malcolm, she is going to need other characters that have 66 AP to really take control of that situation. You could potentially see Heng Yen and Arav on defense teams a bit more with her. Maybe the Gentleman even, maybe even the new Dylan if you want to have some quick offensive teams. But going forward, it does look like you're going to have one team fully loaded up on Confuse Resist and one team fully loaded up on Stun Resist, because while Jacki leaders will start to become a thing, Mercer leaders will still obviously be a thing. So taking a look at her weapon, and it is those shock batons from what we saw at the start, pretty intimidating weapons. Jacki's sturdy police batons, 30% HP is the stat, a medium bonus to AP when attacking is the upgrade slot, and the third slot is a unique special which is 75% chance to resist stun and confuse. So those are the stats of a maxed gold mod. 75% is the best you can get out of a gold mod, and she has basically got 2 resist mods on her weapon. She could also load up on more resist. Well, she's definitely going to load up on more resist. It's unclear whether if she put a stun resist mod in her combat mods, whether that could get boosted up to 100% resist or not. I would assume not, but because that can be disarmed, it could potentially be the case. You just don't know. We did have the same sort of thing happen with a leader recently. Clementine, for instance, her leader skill did stack with other people's defense downs, so that was very new, 2 defense downs stacking with each other. It could potentially happen here too, so we'll have to wait and see. Now the biggest issue is here, she is going to be a window, and there isn't really anything really that you can put in the 4 slot on a 5-star weapon to stop her being a window. So you might want to make some really weird weapon here where it's just like AP on attack on the 2nd slot, AP on defense on the 4 slot, and then the AP on defense is basically what makes her less of a window, so that if you attack her, you're more likely to give her rush. I think this would have been better off starting as a 5-star weapon and having the 75% to resist stun and confuse in the 5th slot, making the HP maybe 35%, and then just leaving it there. That way people could put absolute defense on there or make it an 8% weapon in that 3rd slot, because realistically you want to keep that resist part of the weapon. It is very strong. So obviously Jacki is a very interesting character. She's mainly been brought into the game seemingly to combat these massively offensive Priya leads where they have like 20k plus damage. Their basic attacks are just ripping through defenses. They're quick rushing as well. You know, you're having people try and get first turn rushes on these characters and just be able to demolish a defense on the first turn. Jacki's kind of been brought in to try and combat that. Huge amounts of defense with any character that rolls with her with those traits, fast and alert. Confusing the enemy is also a big deal. Like I said, if it does confuse a Rampage Priya with 20k attack and they attack their own team, that is going to be bad news. 100% bad news. Especially as a lot of these beefed up Priyas do almost have 100% crit rate. It's not 100%, but it'll be very, very high just based on all the adjacent buffs. You'll have 15% attack on 35 crit from 4 people. Probably got crit from mods as well. It all stacks up. You'll probably have your own beast Priya just demolishing your own team in those cases. I think initially the way people will try and combat this character is more of a slower bleed team. Characters like Wang Fa do directly counter her lead skill, although Wang Fa also does get directly countered. Alert and fast obviously get directly countered and counter tough and strong. So it's kind of like the Eric Michelle meta, where Eric was on defense teams and Michelle was on attack teams, just in reverse, where you're going to have like Mercers and Wang Fa on attack and Jacki as the defense leader. Will she become the new meta defense lead? It's unclear. What I think will happen, and this will probably be the case, is you'll have heavy spenders getting a Jacki, and they'll most likely have Jacki and Mercer teams, and during war they will just rotate between the 2 teams. So basically it makes it very hard to predict what sort of defense team they're going to have. One team will be very good to take a Priya in against, one team not so much. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult to sort of realize what is the best way of attacking defense teams going forwards. I think we do have this issue right now in large parts of the game, especially in the raid system. I think the arena system is the best, but in the raid system you can hit a raid, you only really see the leader and you don't really know the team behind it. That means you're generally speaking going to try and build a one team beats all kind of system rather than trying to build multiple attack teams depending on the sort of defense team you're going to come up against. I personally don't like that. I think it reduces the skill ceiling and it makes the game underwhelming strategically. So I do hope that there's going to be some quality of life improvements when it comes to knowing what kind of teams you're attacking in war and what kind of teams you're attacking in raids. This has been something I've been talking about for about the last year. But that is the end of my video, guys. Do tell me what you think about Jacki as a promo character, a new leader coming to the game, maybe meta shifting character. We'll have to wait and see. That is the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.